Okay, so we're back, and now we're going to explain how to record without glitches. I have a colleague, Liam Dunnicky, over there, great piano player based in London, and we're connected via jack trip. So go back to the previous sections if you don't know how we did that. I'll show you briefly the settings that we're using. So in QJack CTL, I'm here, and I have 32 for my buffer size, 44 100 for my sample rate, and in the actual jack trip command, I'm making the server here, so I did -s, lowercase s, n1 for one channel, a Q value of 8, just to slightly increase latency and reduce glitches. And then I add this -z option as well that I might explain in the written notes. It doesn't make a huge difference, but it just makes the glitches a little less intrusive when they do happen. So you can see that Liam's connected, and therefore Liam shows up here in the graph window. So we've seen all this before. Before we move on to recording, I'm going to show you a quick test for latency. So at this stage, what's going to happen is I'm going to QJack CTL, and I'm going to drag from Liam's receive into the send. So remember, receive is the audio that I get via jack trip from Liam. And what I'm doing here is sending it straight back into the send so that it goes back to Liam. Okay. So now if Liam clicks his fingers in front of his microphone, he's going to hear in his headphones the signal that has come from him to me and then back. Okay, so Liam, go ahead and do that.
Okay. Yeah, and that's instantaneous.
Okay, so that's great. So if the latency is so good that Liam hears himself instantly when the audio has come all the way from him to me and then back again, then that's a good sign that we're working at really the latency, and we can get some playing done. So I'm just going to disconnect that thing there by highlighting it and pressing disconnect. Okay, so now onto the main thing, recording without glitches. Liam and I are both connected via jack trip now, and we can hear a few glitches, not too many, but we don't want to record them if we can avoid it. I'm the server here, and Liam is the client over here, and we're both sending glitchy audio to one another. But at each end, we can record ourselves with no glitches. So I might go into Logic here. You could use GarageBand or Audacity or whatever it is that you're using. And I have my bass connected to this, nothing special. Just got a microphone in the bass and it's connected there, so I can see that it's coming through. So that's good. And Liam is doing the same thing on his end. So that means that at the end of this recording, we'll have 2 pristine glitch-free audio tracks, and we just have to work out how to synchronize them together. Okay, so Liam can send me his track via Dropbox or whatever it might be, and I can just match them up on my computer if I have a good way to match them up or to synchronize them. Now, the simplest way to do this is quite low tech, and it's not perfect, but it's a good start. It's just to clap on cue. So I'm going to have to mute my Zoom while I do this, and Liam's muted as well, because we don't want to use the Zoom audio for this. But the principle is I'm just going to count Liam into a clap on beat 1 of the next bar. Okay, and we're going to try and do that at the same time, and that will give us a way to synchronize our audio tracks afterward. Great, so that sounded pretty good. I'm back on Zoom again now. So now in Liam's recording program and in mine, we've got tracks that have a little clap at the start, and now we can just go ahead and have a quick play. So I'll mute myself. I'm unmuted there, and we've got that recording. And I'll just show you what that looks like in Logic. So I'm sharing screen, and you can see I have this little waveform here from where I recorded. So now what will happen is me and Liam can both stop our recording in Logic, and Liam can just send that over to me. And then if I have a little zoom in here, this will be different depending on the program that we're using. At the front of there somewhere, there'll be a clap signal that's relatively strong, but we can just line up. So that's pretty good, but it relies on me and Liam having a good enough sense of time to clap precisely on time in relation to the counting that we did. Hello there. So Liam has sent me his piano track that he recorded at the same time as we played on his end, and he sent that over to me so that I can incorporate it with my bass track and make a recording of the 2 of us that doesn't contain any glitches. Okay, so I've got here a track for my bass. I'll just play you what that sounds like. Very nice. And that is pristine because it was recorded directly into my computer, so it wasn't coming over the internet, and so there's no glitches. Then I've got this here, which is Liam's stem that he sent me, and he's got the clap there. My clap is just there. You can hear that, and you can hear that. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in gradually and gradually, and just try and get this to be really nicely well aligned. Something like that. Let's see. That's pretty good. Okay, so that's really nicely aligned. And then assuming that we actually did clap in time, then that means that we've synchronized the rest of the song as well. And so we'll just see what that sounded like. It would be handy to be able to synchronize without the aid of the clap, so removing the sort of human error element, and that's what we'll look at in the next section. Okay, so just now we synchronized our glitch-free tracks recorded at each end just by clapping. So we counted into a clap over the real-time connection, and that meant that we could clap at the same time, more or less, and then we used that clap to synchronize the tracks afterwards. Pretty good. However, we can avoid having to use a clap or any human signal like that. We do this. So this is a slightly different version of the diagram. What's going to happen is that as well as recording my own audio with no glitches, I'm going to try and find a way to record the audio that I'm receiving from Liam. Okay. Now that means that when I finish recording, I'll have a glitch-free bass track and a glitchy piano track. But importantly, they'll be already synchronized together, at least in the way that I heard them as I played. So it'll be a real representation of what I was hearing while we played. And then Liam can send me his glitch-free audio, and I can line that up with the glitchy version that I recorded. That's the key thing. So there's no need anymore to use a clap as a signal. The question is, how do I actually record the incoming jack trip signal from Liam? So three different ways I want to talk about. The first one is if I had an audio interface with a loopback function. So you may have an interface made by Sapphire. Again, if you don't have an interface, this doesn't apply, but no, Focusrite Sapphire. No. Yeah. So this line of audio interfaces by Focusrite and many other good interfaces too. Basically anything better than your already simple one. They'll have a loopback thing where they can send something that's coming from one of the outputs back into an input that can be selected in Logic. So that's one way of doing it. And if you use a Sapphire, like a lot of people do, you might have a program called Sapphire Mix Control that has a loopback option in there that you can select. You can phone up the manufacturer of your audio interface to check whether you have such a loopback feature and how to use it. So that's one way, and then I could record both tracks into Logic. There's another option, which is to find and use the Jack Router plugin. So this is a little bit tricky, but I'll put in the written information how to find this because it's an old plugin that isn't really supported anymore. So if you have OS X 10.15, and remember we looked at how to find that out, or later, then it won't work for you. However, for me it does. So I might show you that method briefly as well. Third method is to use a program called Arda, which is a free digital audio workstation, which is pretty good. It's a bit sort of Byzantine in the way that it works. It looks a bit unfriendly compared to Logic or GarageBand, but it runs natively inside Jack. And I'll show you what that means in a second, because it makes things really, really good. So first of all, let me go into Logic here. Liam, you're just going to record your own track as before, okay? Sure. But in Logic, because I have the Jack Router plugin installed on my computer, I can go into the audio settings here, and for my input device, I can choose Jack Router and apply that. Now, when I go into the graph, QJackCTL, I see these connections to logic. So that's great. I'm going to delete all of these connections to do with logic. First of all, I'm just holding down Command while I click them there and pressing disconnect, just to show you how this builds up. So capture is where my base is plugged into. So I'm going to plug that into the first input there of logic. And then Liam's receive, so the audio that I get from Liam, I'm plugging it into input 2 of logic. And that's all I need to do at this stage. So that means when I go into logic here and record enable both these tracks, here's a bass track which is connected to input 1, and here's piano which is connected to input 2. And Liam, if you just have a quick play or make a sound. Great, fantastic. Brilliant, that's fun. So you can hear that coming through Zoom. There's a few glitches because we haven't turned our video cameras off and we're stressing the internet a bit. But you can see that is showing up on the faders here in Logic. So now me and Liam will let's just play that same head again, a little bit of tempo just for a change. But I'm going to record both tracks, myself without glitches and him with glitches. Let's just mute ourselves on Zoom. Yeah. Great, fantastic. Quite glitchy that time, but that's, I guess, to be expected. Okay, so that's the second method, and that gives me, as I said, it gives me 2 tracks in Logic. One of them here, the piano one, is going to be glitchy, but I can use that as a sort of guide track to line up the pristine audio that Liam will send me afterwards, because he's recorded it on his own end as well. So that's the second method. Third method is for more advanced users who might have used home recording software before and have a bit of a better idea how it works. I'm just going to quit Logic at that point and open my program called Ardour, which I've found really helpful for this sort of thing. This is a digital audio workstation, just like Logic. As I said, it's a bit less easy to use if you're used to Logic at least. But what should I do? In fact, I'll make a new session. I'll show you how that works. So I'm making a new session, recording session. What date is it? 15th of March. Yeah, so there we go. Just opening that there. And I'm going to create 2 tracks. Actually, let me create 4 just to show you how useful that is. So I've got 4 tracks. I'm going to click this editor button in the top right here to get to the editor window. But that all looks fair enough. It's just a digital audio workstation. Now, if I go into QJAP-CTL and show you what's happened in the graph window, you can see this. So a whole mess of connections have shown up. Okay, but you can see here that I have 4 audio inputs that I can use. Okay, and that's the crucial thing, because that means I can send Liam's audio into one of these if I want to. Okay, there it is. I just couldn't find you for a second there on the graph. Okay, so here we go. So I've got all these connections here. This is the default connection set that Ardour uses, I suppose, so you can use it to record as it is there. The thing I want to focus on is these inputs here. So I just want to highlight all the little snakes that are connected to them. So the audio 4 through to audio 2. And I'm just holding Command and clicking while I do that. Disconnect them. And then just set it up in the way that I want to have it. So I'm going to connect myself into audio 1 there. And then just as we did with Logic, Liam is going into audio 2 here. But if I had more people playing, as we'll get to later in the series, then I could connect those to audio 3 and audio 4. So it's really powerful in that way. And then I would just go ahead and record on both these tracks. Liam, just give me a bit of a piano blast. Okay, so you can see Liam showing up there. That's fine. So I can just record that. And then personally, I would just export the individual tracks from Ardour as soon as I could and put them into Logic, because I'm more comfortable using that. But that's up to you. Okay, so those are 3 methods for recording with no glitches. And thanks a lot, Liam, for your help.